Good afternoon, everybody. Bobby Cleveland here, Executive Director of the Oklahoma Corrections Professionals, and along with Representative J.J. Humphreys. Well, today we've got a lot on our plate concerning DOC not being transparent, act like they're a private company. So, JJ, we did get a letter today or yesterday in the text message. You want to read that?
Bob, this may be the best letter that I have received. I've gotten a lot of good letters, but I think this gets to the point, gets right down to it. And we read this yesterday at the press conference. So I had a huge busy day. You were with me yesterday. You can testify to this. Me and you walked into my office. Latoya had left this letter on my desk, and that's the first time I read it. Maybe 20 minutes before that news deal. So, yes, we want to share it. It says, Representative Humphrey, I am a DOC employee and have been employed for almost 10 years. After speaking with several co-workers, we are totally disgusted with the way this state agency is being controlled. DOC is 100% total embarrassment for the state of Oklahoma. Governor Stitt said enough is enough. Enough of what? Governor Stitt has not got rid of the main laughingstock of DOC, Stephen Harpe. DOC has turned into a slaughterhouse. Murders, stabbings, rapes, hangings, overdoses, beating, bloodshed. DOC is short-staffed, and if you say anything, you're fired. No, sir. They have more blood on their hands because Stitt could start and get rid of the first problem, old Stephen Harpe. Are these two getting a major financial gain? Kevin Stitt and Stephen Harpe, more blood on their hands, covered. Stephen Harpe is not respected anywhere in the prison except at headquarters. Worthless waste of state money, taxpayers' money. Enough is enough. Kevin Stitt, where does he mean, or what does he mean when he said the last 2 years prisons are being ran by gangs? Hold on, I think I got that sheet. What did he mean when he said the last 2 years the prisons are being ran by gangs? Every corner you turn, you can get any type of drug you want, cell phone, etc. I know you already know this, but a lot of the bloodshed and crimes are happening in the prison. Who is going to stand up and say the words and take action? Enough is enough. Stephen Harpe, Kevin Stitt know what is happening inside the prisons. That being said, these two men have just as much blood on their hands as the one inside doing the murder, stabbing, rapes, drug dealing, civil rights, shot callers, gangs every day.
That was really a good letter. That whoever wrote that.
It's Bob. And in fact, I kind of got that backwards. This page was actually the last where he says enough is enough. Kevin Stitt's words do not mean a thing. That's what he's saying. So he reports on, I got those backwards, but he says worthless waste of state money, taxpayers' money. Enough is enough. Kevin Stitt's words do not mean a thing. And so
you need to get organized and
well, Bob, I've got a few papers. You know what I'm saying?
I've seen your stuff you're working on. Well, hey, let's just get right to it because we don't want to get everything covered today.
1 hour is not enough, Bob, to show what kind of stuff, what kind of state we're in.
Well, let me tell you something, though. Here's something that really I thought was interesting. It's so it's the headlines off of a DOC press release. ODOC addresses misinformation, affirms commitment to transparency after inmate death investigation. Now, is he talking about transparency on this inmate? Or he talk about DOC is going to be transparent. Either one, they're both lies.
Well, wouldn't it be a shock if DOC was actually transparent, Bob?
A big shock. I'd be completely shocked. because they're not transparent about anything. If they're going to be transparent, when he sent this out, it was yesterday, I believe. But you got to be transparent about everything. You can't pick and choose what you want to try to be transparent about. And they, all these, that guy that got stabbed in the leg. We've never even got his name yet because they won't release it. The fire, they had a big fire at one of our prisons. What was that? Which prison was that?
Jim Hamilton.
Jim Hamilton.
But here's
burned up tools, a welding machine, burned up a lot of important things they use there in the prisons, in the maintenance room, and in the other place. But nobody's heard about it. Nobody knows nothing about it. But my understanding was, at my call up there to the fire department, was it burnt to the ground.
Well, Bob, here's the thing. How much money did that cost? How much money are we talking about when a prison loses vehicles, when a prison loses, buildings? Was that arson? Was that an arson?
It doesn't matter about money with DOC. If they're spending the state's money, they don't care. They don't have no.
Bob, let me ask you a question. Was that a arson? Was that an accident? Was that due to lack of, maintenance? What
I understand is it was due to the lack of maintenance. That's just what my understanding is on it.
Well, Bob, but here's why that's important. We got a director right now that is saying he wants to spend $314 million, I think, on a prison. Now, Bob, that's an old prison. That prison's been around for quite some time. I think, I won't swear, is that prison going back to the 80s? Was it built in the 80s?
I don't know. It's been there a long time.
Been there a while. So now we're going to give $314 for a dilapidated older prison that I know they've had lots of problems with, doors.
They still have the doors, still have the problem.
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal, and I'm not saying I don't know what a prison's worth like that. Maybe it's worth $314. But Bob, last time I checked before Harpe came, we had a little rule in state government. We generally went out and got 3 bids, okay? And we would look at those bids, and we didn't wait till the last second. So we didn't wait till just right before and go, oh, hey, we need to buy a $314 million prison. No, you would go out. This is called a little pre-planning. I know, Mr. Harpe, I know you watch us. I'm going to start calling you Director Corruption. So Director Corruption, I know you're watching this, but, a reasonable businessman would not wait till the last minute. He would go out and he would get 3 or 4 bids to see what a prison would actually cost. Now, you come out and say it would be, what did he say, Bob? $1 billion?
Billion.
$1 billion. $1 billion.
But I don't know how big of a prison he's talking about. If he's talking about a prison to house 4,000 or 50,000 or 4, I don't know.
Bob, you're asking a general question that's it's scary because it's common sense. Because
that's not the way on everything. They just generalize. They don't get specific on what they're doing. Just like on this, we're going to a commitment to be transparency. Be transparent. They have never been transparent. And now Harpe, the reason he said he didn't have anything to do with me because he didn't need anybody looking over his shoulder. He doesn't need to be transparent to anybody. He doesn't report to anybody. He's going to do what he wants to do because he knows the governor.
Well, Bob, here's what I'm saying is these facilities, if you look right now at, I think it's Eddie Warrior, they have an issue of water. If you look at Dick Connor,
we've got several places like that.
Dick Connor's always going out of water. So here's the deal. You got Jim Hamilton, 2 buildings burning. What, lack of maintenance? I guess we don't know because they didn't come out with the report. Okay, you've got Eddie Warrior that has been shut down for quite some time over water issue, or the prison's not shut down. There's just no water with all these women.
By the way, they're charging for the bottled water too.
Well, and that's insane. And so what the point I'm making, Bob, your facilities are falling down around them. And what are they doing have you heard them come in and say, we need more money to upgrade?
No, JJ, you got it wrong, son. He has been out flying around with a group to different places all over the nation. I guess I don't know for sure what the purpose of it is. He says he's talking about prisons because he's so smart and knows all about prisons because he has so much experience. of we've had a lot of murders in our facility this past year, a lot of drugs. I talked to a guy the other day. JJ had been in prison for 15 years, and actually had breakfast with him. And he said that he had never seen the drugs the last 2 years since he's been there in prison for the last 15 years. But the last 2 years was unbelievable amount of drugs getting in there and cell phones.
Bob, I've not talked to one inmate that got out, and not one officer who doesn't say that drugs are worse than they've ever seen them ever in the history of them being in or related with the department.
Well, it's pretty, it's very important, but it's the reason is he's mismanagement, just flat mismanagement.
Right. Bob, you're talking about that travel expense.
Yeah.
Representative, now this is a response to our lawsuit the other day. We hadn't even got into that.
Yeah.
Response to this lawsuit, Representative Humphrey recently issued news releases containing multiple inaccuracies, including a false claim that Director Harpe received a $90,000 salary increase.
Well, that's not false.
He admitted to it. I asked him at a budget meeting last year, in fact, what I asked him, did you transfer that over from OMES? And he said, yes. So
right.
I said, did you get an increase, 275? Did you transfer? He said, yes. That's illegal. You can't do it. So one, he was either lying about that, but now he's saying that he did not get that raise. Now I did a,
wait a minute. Where did he say he did not get the $90,000 raise?
It says that Representative Humphrey recently released a news release containing multiple inaccurate, including a false claim that Director Harpe received a $90,000 raise increase.
No, that's not false. He did.
Well, here's the deal. I sent them an open records request. They said they have no record of it. No record. So
of how he got the $90,000. It just showed up in his checks, I guess.
Well, the pay was $185, and now he gets $275. It's been all over. I mean,
JJ, you have to remember he had a lot of experience in prisons.
If it's been a lie, why the hell did he wait so long to tell it? You know what I'm saying? Bob, let me just pull one of my. I'm going through a lot of stuff because I want people to see that this is actually that this is not me just saying, Bob, here's a piece of paper. I know people can't read that, but all of these are names right here. Let me read some of them to you. Kevin Stitt, Gettner Drummond, A.J. Pittman, Amanda Swoop, Andy Fugate, Jeff Boatman, Jim Grego, John George, John.
Go to the House of Representatives.
All House of Representatives, but we go on. Rob Standridge,
senators too.
Roger Thompson, Roland Peterson, Shane Jett. Okay, every legislator this was sent from, and again from Deidre Blackwell. Deidre Blackwell is Stephen Harpe's right-hand person. That's who works at the Capitol, putting his information.
Yeah, I think she makes all the airline trips with him.
Exactly. Let me just say, the Department of Corrections has been open and transparent with you regarding this issue. This shall serve as the agency's official response to your letter dated May 29th regarding the salary of Director Harpe. The Department of Corrections has been open and transparent with you regarding this issue and has told you multiple occasions the salary is not set by the director, but by the governor as per the statute. It is also addressed in this press release, which is quite funny because I sent the statute to them. I think I sent that on May 29th, maybe. There is hereby created the position of director's condition. So this is a statute, 557, 506. There is hereby created the position of director's correction. The director shall be qualified for such positions by character, knowledge, skills, ability, education, training, and successful administrating.
We certainly didn't have the knowledge.
We don't have none of that. Okay. Experience and shall have 5 years of professional level work. The director of corrections shall be of the governor and may be removed or replaced without cause. Compensation for the director shall be determined by the governor. The director may be removed from office by 2/3 vote of the members elected to the constitution of each chamber of legislature. A change was made in the statute in 2019. The legislators, which you voted on in favor of House Bill 2480, an elected official overseeing policy changes, one would assume you are familiar with the reading of state statute and know that most recently passed is a controlling state statute. For instance, once again, your request will need to be addressed by the governor. Now, did he say he didn't get the raise?
No.
Never said that. So here's the deal. I once again asked for in an open records, where is the documents showing that you had an increase of pay and when was it approved? No record.
JJ, that's pretty much their MO is everything. They don't tell you the flat out truth. They go around the edges of everything.
Right.
They don't go in and deal. All he had to do is say, "Hey, the governor give him the raise, and here's the paperwork to do it." That's all you had to have.
Here's the deal, Bob. If you give me a raise, here's where Bob gave me the raise. This is where Bob gave me the authority to get this raise. That's simple enough. That's so simple. That's easy. But instead, look at all the bullshit they wrote and telling me, "Oh, you don't even know what you voted for." I know what I voted for. I'm asking you to document that the governor gave it to you. Otherwise, if you don't have that documentation, you can't get it. You know what I mean?
Didn't they say they don't have any documentation?
I sent a public request in an open records request saying, "Give me that document." They said no record available.
No record available. So that means he just got the $90,000 on his own. I guess that's what it means if there's no records.
They said that Humphrey's false claims of $90,000 increase and that ODOC unlawfully relocated in a different administration building. Here's the deal. Guess what? You have to get legislative approval. I gave them that statute. They're so down with all these statutes. Gave them the statute. Guess what? They didn't get legislative approval. I never voted on that. I didn't even know they'd done it. They got a new downtown headquarters. So is that a lie? So again, here they are. It's a false. They're lying to the public.
Is that downtown or over on Lincoln Boulevard?
I think it's on Lincoln. Who knows? I've never been there. I don't know.
Yeah, I did.
But I was told it cost $100,000 a month.
$100,000 a month. That's
Yeah,
$1 million a year.
But I who knows? Because guess what, Bob? They don't put that out. You don't.
They're not transparent.
Let's see here. And the agency travel's expenses were misrepresented. Bob, the Fox 25 or 23 nailed him on that. He put out a media release saying he spent $5,000. I sent it in on a open records. It wasn't no 5,000. It was thousands. I didn't misrepresent that. They are misrepresented. They are liars. They're liars. It's going to be quite funny. So each assertion is demonstrably false. Demonstrably false. So
yeah.
I'll
just get into your meeting yesterday,
Bob. So what we did, we called a press conference. Got a lot of coverage, man. We got a lot of coverage on this. And that's why the department is running around like a chicken with its head cut off and trying to make noise, trying to deflate.
Hey, JJ, I want to just interrupt you a second. This is really, I think, one of the first times I can remember, maybe it's been other time too, that there's been so much interest in what's going on at our prisons. I think they're finally understanding that there's a problem.
I think people are seeing it. And again, I think the fact, Bob, I will tell you this. I had a lot of people call me and say, why is it that this happened on September and DOC is just now addressing this.
We're talking about the death of Ross.
Yeah, so we had an inmate death, and we've talked about this on here before. So we had an inmate death. The guy died on September 12th. DOC sent the family a email on September 13th saying that the inmate was going to higher security. I guess they meant to heaven. I hope he went to heaven, but I don't know what they meant by that. He going to higher security. So DOC says, well, that's Vine, VINE. Vine is a third party notification. So, damn, are we having to pay somebody else to notify? Bob, what is that all about? But here's what I laugh so much about. DOC is saying we didn't notify. That's a third party, and so DOC says we attempted to notify them. So he died on the 12th. Another inmate family notified the family on the 19th. So get this, 7 days later, an inmate family calls this family and says, you better check on your inmate. He dead. Now, DOC could not get a hold of them in 7 days, but an inmate family tracked them down, no problem. And Vine tracked them down 1 day later. I have the emails. So is DOC so damn incompetent that they can't get, that these other two can, but in 7 days they can't get hold? So the family calls the funeral home that does the contracting with them. And the funeral home was about to cremate him. So they get that stopped. So they call the prison and say, hey, what happened? Legitimate deal. Now, the aunt tells me what person they talked to. If you go back and look, that person's in the chain of all this. So it makes it extremely believable. And that person representing DOC told the family that he had died the 17th. Now, why would a higher ranking person with the department lie to the family and say that this inmate had died on the 17th when in fact he had died 5 days before that on the 12th? That's Bob. And so DOC's, oh, JJ's making it up. JJ's just, no, all of this is documented. They admit it now. I mean, they admitted that, hey, we didn't get a hold of them. We couldn't find them. And again, they're saying, well, that wasn't us that contacted them. That's fine. That's not you that contacted them. That's Vine. But how does Vine, and who does Vine work for? You know who they work for? They're contracted to DOC. So how does a DOC contractor have the ability to get hold of the family, but DOC does not? That's truly amazing.
Well, they put out a press release on that, but they are showing the 12th, which is different than what they.
Oh yeah, now because guess what? They got called out on it, and so again,
Now JJ, whenever this is going clear back to September, what would happen to this inmate was killed? Did they file charges on the guy who killed him?
They did.
Right after it happened?
Here's the deal. It happened on the 12th. I think on October, I'd have to go back and look, Bob, because I'm going off my memory on this. I think on October the 19th, I requested records. Now, here's the thing. The reason that I did that, I may have even done it before the 19th, but I had to gather all the records I could by hook and crook and shakedown. You know what I'm saying? I say it like that because I don't want to reveal how I get stuff from there. But the bottom line is I had gotten most of the records that I could. And after I got most of the records that I could, then I did make a request to them. Shortly after I made that request, when I formally requested that, then they filed charges. Now, if you go back and look at their
charges with the DA.
Yes, but up till then, so Bob, here's a murder occurs. This guy's in the cell with this guy. This guy's murdered. Who do you think murdered him? You know, now I wanted to see the video of a day before this. I would like to have a video from one day before until the entire investigation's closed, because then you can see who went in and
Oh,
out of that.
I thought he was killed the very day he was there, the first day.
Well, again, Bob, that's because me and you've received information that they hauled him down there in the middle of the night and that he was killed the next day. Now, if that's true, guess what? The video could show that. If anybody else went in the room, the video would show that. Okay, so you would think that you would have that in an investigation. We can't get it. Now, they say they're transparent, but we can't get it.
Well, no, that they're just transparent when they want to be.
But Bob,
In words only. In words, words. Action speaks louder than words.
right?
They can claim all this stuff. We save lives and we do this, we do that. We don't even have the classes that we should have in our prison system.
Sure, but Bob, this shouldn't be a hard murder to investigate. Okay, shouldn't be that good. This guy's in the cell. This guy's in the cell.
Okay, Jay, but we shouldn't even be talking about this because we need officers, and they're still not getting enough officers.
You're missing the point, Bob. Here's the point. This is an easy investigation to do, and they turn it in on October 21st. Now, guess what, Bob? That's almost 40 days. So October the 12th would have been 30 days. October 12th would have been 30 days. They turned it in 10 days later. So it was 41 days, I guess. Okay.
Well, 30, it's what, 3 months, 6 months?
Well, here's the deal. If you stayed from September the 12th to October 21, you're roughly 41 days. Okay. 41 days it took you to turn in a murder that happened right there in the room. And what
about how long does it take it to get this information they sent out, which is not accurate, but this information is sent out.
They did not do the investigation. They did not go file murder charges until I made an issue out of it. And their own paperwork shows we're going to write him up for a X class 3, X-3 write-up killing another person.
JJ, who did the investigation? What OSBI?
No, they do an investigation.
Oh, they investigate themselves.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Oh, JJ investigates JJ. I get off every time, Bob. DOC investigates DOC. Never a problem, And that's the deal. And I'm trying to look up somewhere in here they're going to talk about, and that's what I'm looking at, Bob. They talk about that this inmate assaulted, that he had multiple write-ups, and was transferred to OSP. This guy's got a nonviolent 2-year sentence with no prior record. He is not a top maximum security inmate. He is not a top maximum, but yet this guy is at the highest level of security. They got this guy as Al Capone, he's the highest level of security. And now here's the deal. They say that he, due to his escalating aggressions and repeated misconducts, he was ultimately transferred to OSP, the agency's maximum security facility in McAllister. Shortly after arriving, I was looking at following an assault. Okay, right here it is. However, Ross' continued misconduct impacted his eligibility for his credits. Following an assault on staff on October 23, an incident that did not result in injury, Ross lost nearly a year's worth of earned credits. Given the severity of his behavior, he was reassessed to medium security and transferred to Lexington. Okay, for placement at Lexington Correctional Facility in late November. While at Lark, Ross committed another serious violation assaulting a transportation officer by spitting in their face. Okay. Now, Bob, here's the deal. I actually did an open records request. I got their records, which again should be open to anybody, anyways. So here's the deal. He had a disobedience to order. He failed a drug test, disobedience to order. Now, when they talk about.
Wait a minute. If you're going to test, say, you failed a drug test, that would be 90% or maybe more of guys in prison. Now, why are they using that against him?
Well, Bob, and again, are they even going after people for having drugs anymore in prison?
No, they're not.
Here's the thing. Disobedience to order. So they're saying, oh, this guy, because of his, bad, okay, not a problem. Then he finally gets a possession of drug. That's a pretty bad one. Okay, if they want to move him to McLeod or somewhere like that, okay. Then he gets an attempted assault. I would love to see what is an attempted assault. I mean, how do you even attempt assault? If I want to assault you, I will assault you. I don't attempt to assault you. But if he attempted to assault, that's a head scratcher.
Let me ask you this question. Where is the backup to what they say? Because you can't believe what they say.
Well, and
where's the paperwork showing each one of these incidents?
Bob, that's the deal. I've asked for records. I get a record, but I don't get what I want. I don't get the write-up. I don't get the hearing. I don't get all of that. I guess I'm going to have to ask specifically for every piece of paper I get. But anyways, he gets moved for attempted assault, and apparently that's where he went to Lark. And then while at Lark, he gets spitting on an officer. Now, let me ask you this question, Bob.
Okay.
If you were a supervisor and somebody spit on one of your officers, what would happen?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, that's an assault.
Oh, no question. They even put that.
It's that body fluid or anything of that nature.
It's exchanging bodily fluids. That's the actual criminal charge, exchanging bodily fluids. So let me ask you a question, Bob. They're claiming that, they care about their officers. Would you not file charges? Would you
Absolutely, you file charges. You go to that DA, you file charges on him.
Now, they act like I'm trying to protect the inmate. Let me say openly, to anybody, if I was the director, somebody spit on one of our officers, they would be charged. There would be a charge immediately on that person. Had they charged this guy.
If they cared about the officer's safety, they would have done that. But they don't do that because they don't care about the officer's safety. The way they work them, you can tell that.
Bob, do you know the family of Markel would agree with me? I think if we went and asked the family, and I hadn't asked this yet, but if he actually assaulted an officer, then he should have had new charges filed on him. And had he had new charges filed on him, he would have had new time filed on him. And then there would be no lawsuit. Then there would be no question. Then everything would be solved, except guess what? This is going on every day. They're assaulting officers. We looked 1 month, 17 we found, just us finding in 1 month. They're not filing charges. That's why you have so much of it going on. But here's the other part, Bob. Tell me what law enforcement agency allows their officers to be spit on and not file charges on.
I don't think any of them. But you bring up a point that I find interesting. I have received a letter. In fact, I've received several of them that officers were complaining that they weren't able to do their job. They didn't even know why they were there because the shot callers were running the place and they weren't doing anything. They showed up and just hung out.
Well, Bob, I'm being told they're telling them not to write them up for drugs. So it's amazing. We're going to take this guy to task. And again, listen, if this young man did what they're saying and he spit on officer, he should have got new time. I got no problem. But does that mean he ought to be in McAllister? Because I go, Bob, I know right now a guy that was at Hinton, I think still is at Hinton, assaulted an officer, took pepper spray away from him, and sprayed the officer with pepper spray, who has a hell of a record, way worse than this. And they didn't take him, McAllister. So how is it that you take this guy right here who's like 5'4", who never had any other criminal charges? And the other question is, why all of a sudden do we have a guy that never had a charge in his life, and now he's the number one? I mean, he's top criminal in the state. You know what is that, Bob?
I don't understand it, JJ. It's just sad what's happening to the prisons and how the officers are treated. It's
Well, Bob, what cracks me up is they're attacking me like somehow I'm making all of this up. And you know what, Bob? Here's where I'm after. I'm after the truth. And if the truth is that Markell was assaulting officers, spitting on officers, needed to go to McAllister. You know, Bob, when I was an officer back in a long time ago, back in the day, you know, if you assaulted an officer, you were probably going to McAllister, and you'd probably get the hell beat out of you by officers. You probably got beat up by officers at that day. You know, now would you be dead? No. Would you even be close to dead? No. But you were going to be taught not to be doing that kind of stuff. Now, is that right? I don't think today that you can do stuff like that. Is it right? No, it's not right. That's not professional. That's not what we need to do. And again, we don't need to go back to that. But is it right to stick somebody in a place to have them get the hell beat out of them, to probably be raped?
Hey, let me kind of switch gears with you for a second. Am I understanding it correctly that they denied there were guys in the showers? They were putting people in the showers for punishment?
You know, he said that. I don't know. I thought that the federal case was already approved and that we were going to federal case. So I have to go back and confirm what he said. So I'll have to talk to Richard and see. I was thinking that we were waiting on state approval, that the feds had already approved it and you have to have state approval. I thought that's what we were setting, but I'll have to go back and check to see where we're at on those lawsuits.
Well, I think there was a way you could bypass that state approval by doing certain things. I don't remember exactly how it went, but you could do it.
I think the feds have to approve it, but then the state, once the feds approve it, then the state has to approve it. And I think this is getting the state to approve it may be the problem that we're having. So I'll have to talk to Richard and find out. But here's the thing, Bob. One of the things that's funny, I requested records on. So the department has told me I can't have records because they have an agreement with the House leadership. And so I requested an open records on that. I want the record showing the agreement, no record. I want the record showing that where the date and location of this meeting, no record. I want the form of that I released non-public information. Now, this is public agency.
What's non-public information?
What is non-public information? So I want that whatever I released. You know what the answer to that was?
What?
That is that no records available. No records available, Bob. We have no record of us on that. Bob, I'm gonna see if I can find it real quick here. I got so many paperwork, but Bob, I've got a something from them. Let's see, March.
Well, I thought they was denying that it happened now, because he also said they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't do it again.
Right. Well, Bob, I've got a form somewhere where they say that I have released a incident report to the Oklahoma Watch. that I released an incident report to the Oklahoma Watch. Now that's going to be the incident report, or what they are talking about. So my question to them is, well, what are those incident reports?
So they're upset because it happened, and you released it, and it actually happened, but they didn't like it. So then they're saying that you did something wrong. That's public. That's public records. I don't think they understand what public record is.
And here's the deal, Bob. You know this as well as anybody. They're saying that I released this record to the Oklahoma Watch. Here it is. Aha. I knew I had this. Got a lot of paperwork, Bob. We are not refusing to provide you with the information. We are unable to give you a hard copy. We have confirmation that you have personally released incident reports to the Oklahoma Watch. We have confirmation. Okay. Bob, I asked them, what records did I release? Now, I'm going to assume, since that's the ones they're telling me that I have a record. Now, what did I release to the Oklahoma Watch? Well, I released some records that I received, not from them. I didn't receive them from them. So any records that I receive in the public are open domain. If I didn't receive them from them, then they're open domain. I got them in the open domain.
If you had give you some information and said, "Hey, don't release this," that'd be different.
Oh, if I made an agreement, Bob, if I walked in there and they said, "We're going to let you look at that, but you're going to have to say you're not going to release it to anybody." If I sign that, which is what they want me to sign, they're trying to make me.
Basically, they're taking away your rights because with everybody, that open records request belongs to everybody, the public, representatives, whoever. And what they're doing here now is taking away your rights of a citizen of Oklahoma.
But Bob, you know what that incident report was on? Showers.
Always on the shower.
So
that happened. That took place.
Oh, here's what's funny, Bob. They've stepped into quicksand. They're so stupid. Hey, Director, you're ignorant as hell, okay? So let me give you this. Sit down. I think you better sit down, Director. Get you a deep seat and a faraway look, because I'm going to tell you, she's going to get bronchi. Get a good hope. So here's the deal. I got these records from their own employees. Roundabout way. I didn't get them from those employees. So, Director, don't go after them. I didn't get them from them. Somebody else got these to me. Go look in your own headquarters, boss. Go look where you. So here's the deal. I get these records. You know what I did with them, Bob?
What?
I emailed the director and said, "You got a problem."
Right.
I didn't go to the news media. I emailed the director.
I remember that because I was wondering why you did that.
You got this going on out there at Hinton. You better check on it. You know what they said?
What did they say? No.
Not happening. Not happening. So then, Bob, I did release these reports that I did not receive from them. I did release them to a news media who actually confirmed this was going on. So this is why, Director, kind of tune in here. This is why it's important. Your own employees, multiple employees, told you, and in those reports, it tells what's going on. They're being locked in 2x2 cells. They're being withheld food. They're being withheld water. They do not have bathrooms. And these guys were going to let them out because it's human rights violation. These guys were like, "We're not doing this." And guess what? They were told, you put them back in there. They're in there for punishment. Now that's in the report. This is not moving them. They're in there for punishment. The director had those. They were sent to him. I made him aware. And guess what? He ignored. Director, human rights violations you can be incarcerated for those. I have a friend that spent 48 months in prison for civil rights violations. You can be incarcerated for that stuff. So here's the deal. He had reports from his own employees saying it happened, And then what did they do? They went and covered it up with a 102-page report. Does it take 102 pages? How do you even have 100?
I remember that. It was just a bunch of BS.
How do you even have that, Bob? And then they turn around and say, well, it happened. It happened.
So there again, we got the DOC investigating themselves.
Investigating themselves, coming back and saying, well, it happened, but are you going to believe what Humphrey said, or are you going to believe what we said? And they said we were moving them from cell to cell. What is this, like 20-mile trip? Was one cell 20 miles from here, and we had to take a little break and let you sit in this one cell for 3 days while we're taking you to, you know what I'm saying, Bob? That's what they're saying. While we were transporting him from cell to cell, I mean, we're walking him from one cell to the other. Do we have to go hold him in a shower? You know, unbelievable. But Bob, that's the kind of stuff. And here's what they're so silly. They don't think anybody keeps records. I keep records, Bob. Pretty good at it. You know what I'm saying? So here's where I've got, as you're aware, any information regarding mental health inmates would violate both state and federal privacy laws. However, as per our agreement, House leadership, we would be more than willing to show you incident reports and logs pertaining to the facility. You would be required to sign a non-disclosure as you have previously released non-public information. Now, here's all the way. Now, that's in September 12th. So guess what? This is when I'm asking for records. They're saying they ain't going to give it to you. Okay, now we have what record they're talking about I released. Now, I sent in a Open Records Act, which they responded to in the 8th, on the 8th. So January the 8th, they responded. Now, I sent it in October 22. So it took them dang near 3 months to respond. And guess what their answer to that was, Bob?
No record?
No record available. No record available. Well, that's a lie, because I got 2 records right there. How many more emails did you send me that y'all weren't going to give me information? Now, Bob, here's another thing. Let me get out of this one deal. So I've got a good friend, Tim Turner. He's a former sheriff, and he's a new representative. Bobby ain't even had 1 day yet. We start Monday. He has not had 1 day as a representative yet. He files a report. Let's see. That's my response to him. Oh, I don't know if I've got his report. I don't guess I got that report, Bob.
Well, it was yesterday.
Well, it says a press release dispute prison death lawsuit. So this guy writes and he's saying, I'm going to dispute your claim. Okay. Now, which is quite funny. Now Tim did work for DOC for about 5 minutes, I think. And so here's the deal. In his report, Bob, which I thought I had, I know I had it somewhere. Hold on. I think it just dawned on me where I had that report. Let me see right here. Bob, ain't that amazing? Hey, I do have it. I copied it. And so he's saying that it saddens him about the death. Everybody says it saddens him about the death. I don't think, again, I mean, so we disagree on the department's policy at this time. The department holds accountable. We hold the offenders accountable too. I'm trying to see where he talks about that this offender. So he details what he got. I think I was reading that.
Well, JJ, I see where Kay Thompson says, as we have stated repeatedly in news releases and public statements, his claims are not supported by evidence. We have given them evidence on everything.
Everything. Their claims are never supported. Bob, when they say it cost $1 billion, what do you have to prove it? And why aren't legislators asking this? Bob, when you're on a committee, when these people were doing that, do you have something? Do you have anything to prove? We're 80% retention rate. What have you given us to show you're 80%? Nothing. Hey, Bob, right here is what it says. Turner said he learned that Ross was placed in DOC custody March 23rd and was found deceased September 12th. Records show that while incarcerated in DOC facility, that Ross had 8 misconduct violations. Now, let me see. I've got their records that they sent me, and I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's correct. He's correct, Bob. How do
you know what? When they're throwing in there the drugs, they're the one that let the drugs in.
Yeah, but Bob, let me ask you a question. How does a freshman who has never been yet, he ain't even served one day, how can he get records, correct records, absolutely correct records?
Well, it's very clear how they did it. They let him have all the records so he could put out a press release trying to rebut anything that you've said.
One of those is for attempting to strike a correctional officer, attempting to strike with the closed fist. So apparently he closed his fist and struck, must have missed or something. Another for spitting in the face of a correctional officer during transport. So, Bob, here's the deal. I had to file months and months an open records request to get that. How is it that a freshman can get that no problem? And then he goes on to say, if someone assaults staff and sells, possesses drugs, they haven't learned their lesson and they should be held accountable. Bob, I agree they ought to be held accountable, but why is it the department is letting their people get assaulted and not holding them accountable? So again, he fails to address the real issue in this, which is officers being assaulted every day, officers being stabbed. We had an officer stabbed. We still don't know his name. We still don't know, did they file charges? Again, how do you go find out if they filed charges on somebody you don't even know the name? You can't even find out the incident. What was the inmate involved in that? Who was that, Bob? Officer stabbed, and we can't even find out what's going on.
JJ, we had a lawyer who's worked for us for, I think, 10 years for OCP, done a great job. I mean, we've won every case but one against DOC, which is probably 20 we've won, somewhere 10 to 20. But we've won these because our lawyer was very knowledgeable of how to do things with and work with the OCP, DOC. And they say that he was disbarred. He resigned. Now he did have some problems. He's got on his defense, he's got a bad heart. He's had several heart attacks, and he's had a real bad heart, and he's had a tough year. But what does that have to do when they put that in their report? What does that have to do with anything?
Bob, I think I was reading that earlier, and I think what they were trying to do is trying to say that we use, or I use, bad people, that somehow because he was disbarred, he's a bad person. Well, first of all, they got it wrong. They don't check out. He wasn't disbarred. He resigned. There's a big difference. That means he did it. And if they would have even took time to check, if he would have done a couple of things, he could have done some things to correct some problems, and he could have kept right on going, practicing.
Even if he was disbarred, what difference does it make? He was disbarred attorney, but he could go and beat you. You beat your attorneys.
Yeah, beat some bad
time after time.
What if he's such bad?
Embarrassing. They're going to bring that up.
He's so bad. He's done kicked their butt 98% of the time. What's that say about you? What's that say about your lawyer? That somebody who got disbarred, according to you, kicked your butt 98% of the time, and you know that's a fact. That's a fact. And so they're just mad because they got that butt spanked.
And I'm really waiting for them to come back and say that, but make up some excuse how they can say that that's not right. That's not right. No, but even if he was disbarred, it's immaterial.
Bob, what's that got to do with me or you? I go hire an
So
attorney.
what's that got to do with Ross? Is what we're talking about here. Is Ross? What does that have to do?
If I go
They
hire,
want to try to make it. Try always want to try to put it off on somebody else, that they're not doing anything. Somebody else is doing it.
well, Bob, if I went and hired an attorney and tomorrow the attorney came up disbarred, I mean, what's that make me a bad person because I went and hired somebody? And again, I want to just say publicly, I love Matt, and we all have issues from time to time, but Matt's a hell of an attorney. He's a good attorney. He just got some problems going on, health problems, a couple other problems probably. But at the same time, you know what? I hope that Matt's watching. Matt, I love you. You did an awesome job for us while you were there. If I can help you in any way, I would love to help you get back on your feet. And again, thank you for all the work you did on kicking the department's butt, and you handed it to them. And I hope you find another attorney who can do half the job that you did.
Well, I got a complete kick out of them bringing that up on him, like he was a gangster or something. He killed somebody, but it's always somebody else's fault. They don't respect. They don't take the responsibility on what they do.
No, never have and won't. So I mean, Bob, I don't know if you noticed, but we're already out of time.
No, I didn't notice that. I don't have a watch.
We're not even getting to the place where we can talk about his proposals to purchase prisons and what's going on and how he set himself in a terrible. He is in the.
We'll pick it up next week and get back into buying the prison. But I didn't know it went this quick. JJ, you talked too long.
Bob, you did most of the talking today. I don't know. I was searching for records, Bob. I spent all day looking for records, trying to find.
You're going to have to get it. You're going to have to slow down and get it together.
Well, Bob, I just want people to see when we say something, we're not like the
right. We're not lying.
We're not.
I know you're very careful, and you tell me, well, we got to have proof. We got to have proof. We got to have proof. We got to have more than one person saying it. Right. And we're not out to lie or make up. And here's the thing: we don't have to make something up. We don't have to lie.
No, you don't have to lie on him.
It's actual factual that happened.
Hey, Bob, you know what? And you know this. It's just tough to keep up. It's tough every week. We didn't even look this week how many people got killed this week. I don't know. How many people got stabbed this week. But I will tell you that letter we started with. Thank whoever did that. Awesome letter. Thank you. I appreciate it. Join OCP. Join us in the fight. Join us.
Thank you, JJ, and we'll catch you later and appreciate it.